Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome back to another episode review from the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Last time, we covered The Tale of Badge, a Gary story about a teen girl who discovers that magic runs in her family. Tonight's narrative, from Tucker, is about some young campers who discover a hidden cave and release an ancient evil. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this Season 5, Episode 8, The Tale of the Manaha. We open on the gang arriving at the campfire to be greeted by an out-of-breath Stig trying his best to act scared.
There's some huge animal out there, a monster. I swear it almost got me.
Tucker comes running up in a gorilla costume, giving the gang a momentary fright, though Gary seems fairly unfazed and is quick to realize what's going on. He pulls the mask off Tucker and Stig says,
Psych.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone already figured that one out, dipshit. Maybe the next time you're trying to set up a scare gag, you don't phone in the performance. Kiki comments that Tucker's story isn't scary enough that he had to pull this prank, to which Tucker replies,
Oh, it's scary, all right. This is just a setup.
Oh good, I feel so much better.
That depends on what's up here.
Tucker starts his preamble by saying that people have been afraid of monsters in the wilderness forever, citing some famous examples. That, coupled with his costume, must mean that we're getting a Bigfoot story, or Wendigo as it's known in Canada, and now I am really having my doubts as to whether it's going to be scary. And no, I didn't misspeak. If you're from Canada, you'd be a Canadan. Canadians are obviously from Canada, and I'll not hear any arguments to the contrary. Anyway, Tucker begins his tale the way the show always does.
I call this story The Tale of the Manaha.
The tale begins on some boys at camp with a soundtrack apparently composed by the band Deep Blue Something. We see that one kid is reading the Ghastly Grinner comic book. We then meet the boys' camp counselor? Question mark?
How did I end up with a bunch of dirtballs like you?
This abusive twat is Lonnie. He berates and bullies each camper individually, dumping out one's dinner, ignoring another's possible poison ivy rash, and threatening to burn another's Ghastly Grinner comic if they bring it on the trip. Yes, we see the cover, and it's
Volume 6, first edition.
You know, Lonnie looked real familiar to me, and it hit me about 5 minutes into the episode why. I first saw him on television about 10 years after this on CSI New York, where he played nerdy lab technician Adam Ross. Although, in more recent years, he's gotten shredded for his role as Sonny Quinn on the show SEAL Team, which I've never seen, but I imagine he plays a SEAL the same way he plays Lonnie.
What are you looking at?
We finally meet our main character, Jonah, who excitedly runs over to the group to announce he's gotten permission to go on the overnight with them. He's even been preparing.
How to Survive in the Bush by Oscar Butts!
Do we need to start a drinking game for every time someone says Oscar Butts? Because I will warn you, I'm a lightweight. Anyway, we cut to Mr. Ostrowski, presumably the man in charge of camp, letting the campers know what they're in for.
You boys are about to embark on a vision quest, a test of endurance, intelligence, and courage.
Nothing like a little cultural appropriation to teach kids a life lesson, but I would like to point out that no, they are not going on a vision quest. Vision quests in cultures of indigenous people that practice these sorts of rites typically involved a young person fasting and praying at a sacred site for 3 to 4 days in hopes that they would receive a vision to help guide them for the future. You were sending a group of boys into the woods for one night to be verbally abused by a teenage douchebag with a Sergeant Slaughter complex. Then again, maybe that's what constitutes a vision quest at old Camp Tawaki, and that is why Camp Anawana is the only camp for me. Lonnie sets the campers off by giving them an incorrect military command, and Mr. Ostrowski stops Jonah to ask him if he's sure he wants to go through with this. Did you not hear Lonnie yelling at the others? Maybe you should ask if any of them want to go through with this. I know this older guy seems nice, but he's enabling a bully and an abuser, so I'm not cutting him any slack. I hope he gets Manaha, I really do.
It's an experience you'll never forget.
As the boys hike along the trail, Lonnie halts their march to tell Jonah to stop lagging behind or else he'll get eaten by a grizzly bear. This freaks out one of the kids who asks if there really are grizzlies, but Jonah says,
No, Chapter 9. According to Oscar Butts, grizzlies are only found in northwestern forests.
Damn it! I knew this was a bad idea. delightful. This makes Lonnie upset, as it challenges his authority. And he retaliates by saying,
Doesn't Oscar Butts have a chapter that says you must carry the leader's pack?
look, maybe they're just going to say it a couple of times and, like right now and never again. One can hope. Oh, so smooth. Later, Lonnie is struggling to open a can, smashing it on a rock. Bro, you have a drill sergeant complex and don't carry a Swiss Army knife? What a poser. Anyway, Jonah tries to help him out.
Always pack carefully. Chapter 1, Oscar Butt's first rule of hiking.
Oh my god, we are only 6 minutes into this episode. I'm not going to make it through at this pace. This makes Lonnie lose it, and he pushes Jonah into one of the other campers, which in turn causes Lonnie's pack to go over the side of a small cliff. Okay, so Lonnie just tried to murder a camper. Cool. Also, y'all better be on the lookout for Dr. Vink, because I am pretty certain that's the same cliff Buzz was clinging to the side of at the start of the Tale of the Phantom Cab.
I am not a nutbag.
Lonnie orders Jonah to go down to get his pack, and when Jonah objects, Lonnie says,
No! What are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it!
No, what Lonnie says is actually much worse.
You want to climb down or fall down?
Jonah, if you just kneed him in the nuts and let him fall over the cliff, I'm pretty sure the rest of the campers would have your back and say that he slipped trying to grab his pack as it fell over. You'd be doing the world a favor.
Yeah, well, keep your opinions to yourself.
Jonah heads down to get the pack, but when he does, he discovers the entrance to a cave. The one thing I have yet to talk about is the location shooting on this one. I mean, they're actually out in the woods, and it looks great. Okay, I spoke too soon. You know what? It's fine. I'm sure the budget for this one went to the monster makeup on the Manaha, so it's perfectly fine. Anyway, Jonah finds some cave drawings. Some recently done cave drawings. I, for one, didn't realize that ancient peoples had access to such vibrant red and white paints, and quality brushes to provide such thin line work to outline everything in black. Anyway, Jonah also finds a stone idol, which he immediately touches. No need to panic, that is just an ancient humidifier that summons a shaman.
The Manaha have returned.
Booyakashaya! You heard him, baby! For a limited time only, the Manaha are back! Up top!
They have once again smelled the scent of human flesh, and they hunger.
So we're not celebrating that then. Okay. The shaman tells Jonah that he must leave the forest forever. Lonnie and another camper enter the cave, prompting Jonah to pass the shaman's warning on.
The Manaha are coming.
The what?
The Manaha. Tell them.
Okay, so maybe that was a cave bong instead of a humidifier. Jonah tries to explain what he saw, but Lonnie is too busy taking credit for finding the cave to listen. Lonnie takes the idol from the cave with visions of dollar signs dancing in his head. When they get back to the others, Jonah tries to warn them about the Manaha, but no one believes him.
This is a joke, right?
I wish it were.
Yeah, right.
It's no joke.
Where the hell did he get a footlong? They can't be that far into the woods if there's a deli nearby. And is that going to be the joke? Or are you afraid of the dark? This kid's going to have food in his hands in every scene because he's a little plump? He better not be nibbling on a pastry when he takes a shit in the woods like that teacher in the Tale of the Dream Machine.
The ghost of blind holes creeping closer.
On the way to the ranger station, Lonnie gets tired of carrying the idol, so he puts it near a tree and says that he'll get it when they come back. As everyone else continues on, Jonah stops, sensing something in the trees.
There's something in those trees.
Sorry, wrong clip. Jonah doesn't see anything and rejoins the others. They arrive at the ranger station to find it empty, though it looks like someone was recently there. this causes Jonah to react, let's say, poorly.
It's the Manaha! They got the ranger! We gotta get out of here! Ah!
Yeah, not a good look. They already thought you were making stuff up, and now you just look crazy. Also, can we talk about this ranger for a minute? My man, you need to be wearing an undershirt. There are kids around, for f***'s sake. You can't be showing that much chest hair. Unless... he's the Manaha in disguise! Ah! I'm fine. I was just giving you all an example of how not to react in a similar situation. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, later, as the kids are getting set up for camp, Lonnie tells Jonah to go get some branches for firewood. Jonah seems nervous, which causes one of the campers to make a joke at his expense.
Don't worry, Jonah. The boogeyman won't eat you. You're too small.
Do you get it? Jesus. And he would know because he's always eating. In the woods, Jonah starts to get that feeling again that he's being watched, which causes him to flee back to camp with only a handful of sticks. This irritates Lonnie, but, at this point, what doesn't irritate Lonnie, prompting him to go get the firewood himself. One of the campers asks Jonah why he is so spooked, and he says,
Oscar Butts says fear is only an emotion. If you conquer fear, you conquer the forest.
I curse the name Oscar Butts. You know what? I don't even taste it anymore. Back in the woods, Lonnie sees something, and we finally get a glimpse of the elusive Manaha. Wait, so it's someone in the same costume Tucker was wearing at the start of the episode? That is truly disappointing. If I were to recut this episode, I would remove any shots of the Manaha in the trees. I think it's more terrifying if you don't know what's grabbing people. Back at camp, the boys hear the intro music for the Manaha, prompting Jonah to lead the others into the woods to find Lonnie. When they get there, though, they're too late, finding only his whistle. Yes! Tucker, if we find out that the Manaha removed Lonnie's skull and is displaying it as a trophy, I don't care what else you do with this story, it'll get my approval.
I don't want to have any problems.
The boys see a comically sized footprint on the ground, prompting them to head to the ranger station to use the two-way radio to get help. But as they're leaving, Jonah notices the footprint disappear. It's nightfall before they reach the ranger station, and when they get there...
It's busted!
What's going on?
Jonah says that they need to get back to camp. One of the others says it's dark and asks how they're going to find their way, to which Jonah replies,
Chapter 7. Don't rely on trails, rely on the stars and your compass.
How about Chapter 1 of my book on survival? When you're in a structure with walls, a roof, and power, you stay there. It's a ranger station. If the ranger doesn't check in, they will send help. Oscar Butts is going to get you idiots lost in the forest. Wait. I don't have to take a shot if I say Oscar Butts, do I? Do I?
What kind of wimp are you?
Once outside, Jonah tells the others which path to take, but before he leaves, he sees all the damage done to the interior of the cabin disappear as though no attack ever happened. And, being the smart individual that he is, Jonah calls the others back, and they use the radio to get help. You fell for it again. No! He completely ignores it and runs off to tell the others that something strange is going on. No Jonah! Ever since you opened up the Vicks Vapor Rub in the cave, you're probably high as and none of this is actually happening.
I just think your facts are a little off.
The boys find the path to the camp blocked with the mists of Ravenloft behind the trees. They decide to try to find another way to camp by making a run for it. Jonah says that they need to stick together, but gets confronted by the shaman once again.
You have been warned.
You know, laughing doesn't always make you seem menacing. Sometimes it just makes you look like an idiot. Anyway, Jonah regroups with the other campers, except for Eddie, our favorite always hungry camper, who is busy getting dogpiled by the Manaha. The campers hear Eddie scream and make a run for it. They encounter the idol, now glowing, and Jonah comes to a realization.
But Oscar Butts says fear is only an emotion. If you believe there are monsters in the woods, then there are.
Damn it, Jonah! I'm dying here!
Man, you're useless.
The other kids want to head back to camp. You know, where it's completely safe because they have tents made of thin material to hide in. Jonah tells the others that they can do what they want, but he's tired of running and has a plan to save the others. We cut to later, where it appears that Jonah has gone off by himself. He finds the Ranger, Lonnie, and Eddie all sort of cocooned in heavy-duty papier-mâché for some reason. Do the Manahas shoot that out of their butts like a spider with silk? Don't think about that. Don't picture it. Don't picture it. Jonah starts to hear the sounds of the Manaha in the trees, but tells the others not to be afraid.
I don't think you're real. And if you're not real, you can't hurt me.
Oh. Well, I assume they left behind the fresh scent of wet dog. Jonah says that it was just an illusion and breaks out his pocket knife to cut through the bindings on the Ranger, which, if I were the Ranger, I would have some reservations about, but that doesn't matter because Jonah is interrupted by the Shaman appearing and saying that he is not an illusion. He then gives an exposition dump about how he ended up in the cave.
The fools thought my magic had become too powerful, too evil. They said that I wanted the forest.
Either you're evil or you're not. And as far as wanting the forest for yourself, bro, it's the 90s. Have you been to a mall? The Manahas would adore the food court, and you seem like a Hot Topic kind of guy.
This cannot be.
The Shaman says that since Jonah released him, the forest is his hunting ground once again, and he starts to light a fire under Eddie. Jonah tells the Shaman to stop, or he'll use the power of the statue to stop him. The Shaman says the power is not in the statue, it's in him, but Jonah responds,
Then I summon the Manaha.
The Shaman starts to freak out as Jonah threatens him with the Manaha. Jonah backs the Shaman into the cave he freed him from and retraps him by covering the hole to the fog machine in the foam rock with the statue. Oh, jeez, guy. Could you scream anymore? Why don't you get trapped for eternity with a bit of dignity? Outside, the Ranger Eddie and Lonnie have been magically freed, and Eddie asks Jonah how he summoned the Manaha. Jonah says, with a little bit of Manaha magic.
Manaha, I command you, show yourselves.
Okay, time out. I'm not going to question where they got the ponchos because they could have brought them along in case of bad weather, but it seemed like when they were trying to get to camp earlier, they were getting blocked, so I'm not sure they could have gotten there to get them, but whatever. There is no way those sticks were making the sounds the Shaman was hearing earlier that made him believe that Manaha were there. And while we're on the subject of him believing in the Manaha, he was the one who created them to begin with, and it's established that they were fake, used to frighten Jonah and the others away. If his objective was to get them out of the forest, why then capture them? The scare tactics were working. All he needed to do was convince Lonnie, and he'd have gotten him out of there immediately. Which also begs the question, why only give his warning to Jonah and then disappear when the other two came into the cave? If he would have just stayed and given his presentation to all of them, they would have left. Shaman, bring it in for a second. Do you remember when you said this in the episode?
The fools thought my magic had become too powerful.
If your magic was so powerful that it needed to be contained, I assume you can make more than illusory Bigfoots and... Wait, Bigfoots? Big feet? Big... Never mind. I assume you can make more than illusions and papier-mâché torso cocoons, so why didn't you use your magic? If Jonah summoned the Manaha the same as you did, then you would know they're not real. Even if you couldn't dismiss them by not believing in them, you could have used your magic to murder the child holding the idol. Surely that would have solved your problem. You might be one of the dumbest villains yet.
Stop!
Also, I don't believe for a minute that Jonah would have convinced the others to help. Guys, I don't think the Manaha are real, but I have an idea, okay? You all dress up like Manaha and bang some sticks together when I tell you to, and that's going to scare whatever is tricking us into running away. Guys, typical.
Don't make it worse for us, all right?
The tale ends the next day with Jonah now leading the group on the hike home while Lonnie carries all the bags.
Pick up the pace, Lonnie!
Look, it's not the punishment Lonnie deserves, but I'll take what I can get. That shaman definitely should have used his skull as a trophy. Back at the Midnight Society, Tucker says that size has nothing to do with how brave you are. The group then hears the sound of an animal in the woods. You know, the kind of thing they would hear all the damn time. But this causes Tucker to react thusly.
And maybe being small also means you gotta run faster!
Now for the review. Oh boy, I am not having a good Are You Afraid of the Dark season. This episode is not good. The story is meh, the characters are so annoying that I can't tell if the actors are bad or just doing the best they can with a lousy script, the villain is laughable, and the resolution is nonsensical. But other than that, it's fine.
You saying I'm a liar?
The settings were okay. I do love when they film in the actual woods, but I do wish more of the episode would have taken place at night, or at dusk at the very least, to provide some more spooky atmosphere. The cave was ridiculous looking, especially going from a shot in a real forest to a set filled with foam rocks and freshly painted ancient cave drawings.
This stuff is really old.
The story. One of the things I say on here all the time is that the short runtime affects the episode quality. But the thing about a TV show, especially one that's been running for 5 seasons, is that you know your limitations when writing if you work on it. We are 7 minutes into a 24-minute episode before Jonah finds the cave. And nothing really starts to happen after that until around 13 minutes when Lonnie goes missing. If we started on the trip already, with the kids setting up camp, we could have met the characters, established Lonnie's douchiness, and Jonah's love of Oscar butts right away so that we could get to the cave faster. And rather than being some random white guy, I think the ranger should have been another indigenous person who could have given some lore on the Manaha. Or, if Jonah had been an indigenous actor, he could have provided that info, and it also would have made sense with his unrational fear of them at the start. In either event, I wish that the culture being teased at in the episode would have been key to defeating the villain, because, I mean, let's face it, the evil shaman did have a serious indigenous people as viewed through a white guy vibe.
Away with you!
The scares. There weren't any. What's interesting is that they go out of their way to show very little of the Manaha, but what they do show is too much. It just looks like a guy in a suit. I referenced Predator earlier, and if Lonnie's disappearance had just been missing those shots of the Manaha, it would have had a much creepier vibe, much like those soldiers getting picked off by an unseen creature in that movie. Near the end, we could have used some glowing eyes in the darkness instead of guys in suits, and I mean, that would have been much more intense. And the eyes and sounds just disappear when Jonah stops believing in them. There were easy ways to make this one scary, and they failed. Younger me wouldn't have found this one scary either. In fact, it would have just made him long for an episode of Salute Your Shorts. I think the acting in this episode was fine. As I stated earlier, I really hated all the characters, but I don't blame the actors for playing their one-dimensional stereotypes. The group of campers was fine, although Eddie is really the only one that stands out since he was always eating. I think Lonnie is really good as the military-obsessed idiot. He's just such a deplorable individual that it made me hate the actor a little bit, which might actually be the ultimate compliment of someone's acting ability. Jonah was also good. He showed a range of emotion. I just found his constant quoting of Oscar butts to be grating.
Maybe you don't know as much about magic as you think.
The adult acting in the episode was also okay. I won't be covering Mr. Ostrowski since he has 2 lines in the whole episode. The shaman was good. The character just wasn't written in a memorable way. I really appreciated that they cast an indigenous person to play the shaman, but they really didn't give him much to do. He never gets that moment to just cut loose and be an over-the-top villain.
I command you to disappear!
Tucker, the tale of the Manaha does not meet the approval of the Midnight Society. The Midnight Society members poll on this one was an interesting one. At the time of recording this video, it was 56% in favor of, with 44% against. Wow. This is momentous. We have never seen this many people dislike an episode. On the US grading system, 60% and below is an F. So you know what? My decision is not getting overturned today. No, I am using my executive powers to veto the veto. The tale does not meet the approval of the Midnight Society. Suck it, Tucker.
That wasn't called for.
Thank you to my patrons financially supporting the channel on Patreon. Jimmy Purcell, Rick Maxwell, Sean Hart, Jay Booth, Tony Ebers, Jessica Tim, EC, J.R. Green, Emilio Flores, and AJN. There is no doubt in my mind that you have all been living your lives based on the teachings of Oscar Butts. If you want early access to videos, as well as bonus behind-the-scenes content, you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/jackofallnerds.
Anything you will need to know, you will learn from me.
I want to thank the following Midnight Society members for participating in this video's poll. This is to you. Oh, that's good. That's good. Ooh. Oh. I'm gonna pass out now. Names are on the screen. Camp on Oana, we hold you in our hearts, and when we think about you, it makes me want to fart.
Oscar Butts!
What did you think of Tucker's story? Did you see it as a kid? If you were lost in the woods, how many times would you quote Oscar Butts to stay alive? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the next episode on the tale of the unexpected visitor. Until then, are you afraid of the dark?
We gotta get out of here!
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, give it a subscribe. And don't forget to click that like icon to be notified when more of our videos go up. Bye!